All members vote who desire to vote. Clerk will close the roll, tally the vote. Ayes 42, noes 23. Measure passes. Madam Speaker Emeritus, we'll take up file item 85, that's AB 2493. Clerk will read.
Assembly Bill 2493 by Assemblymember Atkins, enacted relating to disability.
Madam Speaker Emeritus.
Thank you, Mr. Speaker. Today I present AB 2493. This bill gives parity to CAL FIRE firefighters by extending the same one-year paid leave of absence benefit for occupational injuries that many local and all UC firefighters currently receive. My district survived two of the largest wildfires in California history with CAL FIRE firefighters' help. Many of my colleagues here today have portions of their districts that are susceptible to wildfires. To help prepare CAL FIRE firefighters to respond to these threats, we need to ensure that they have ample time to recover from their work-related injuries without having to worry about their finances. The bill passed out of committee with bipartisan support. I respectfully ask for your aye vote.
Thank you. Seeing no debate on the item, clerk will open the roll. All members vote who desire to vote. All members vote who desire to vote. All members vote who desire to vote. Clerk will close the roll. Tally the vote. Ayes 63, no 0. Measure passes. Members, we are going to move to file item 99, AB 2844 by Mr. Bloom. Clerk will read.
Assembly Bill 2844 by Assemblymember Bloom and others, enacted relating to public contracts.
Mr. Allen.
Permission to return to motions and resolutions.
Mr. Allen, the bill's been read and it's properly before the House. Mr. Bloom, the clerk will read.
Okay.
Then, Mr. Bloom, you may open.
Thank you, Mr. Speaker and members.
Ms. Waldron, for what purpose do you rise?
Thank you, Mr. Speaker. The amendments that Mr. Allen would like to present were put in across the desk in a timely manner, and he was trying to get those amendments heard prior to the opening on the bill.
If Mr. Allen wants to make a motion to suspend the rules, he's certainly able to do so. The issue is yesterday was the last day to amend bills under the rules. If Mr. Allen wants a rules suspension, he may move to do so, and that requires a second. Mr. Allen moves. Ms. Waldron seconds that the rules be suspended. Members, this is a procedural vote. Mr. Allen is asking for an aye vote. Mr. Calderon is asking for a no vote. Clerk will open the roll. Members, this is a procedural vote. Mr. Calderon is asking for a no vote. Mr. Allen is asking for an aye vote on the rules suspension. Suspending the rules requires 41 votes. All members vote who wish to vote on this procedural item before the House. Mr. Calderon is asking for a no vote. Clerk will close the roll. Ayes 25, noes 48. Motion fails. The bill is before the House. Mr. Bloom, you may open.
Thank you, Mr. Speaker. With AB 2844, it is my intention to combat the boycott, divestment, and sanctions against Israel movement, or what is commonly known as BDS. As you probably know, the BDS movement is a global effort to demonize, delegitimize, and ultimately eliminate the state of Israel as we know it. Israel is our trading partner with whom we have an MOU that underscores our strong historic relationship. Members, the bill that's before you is not the version that I had hoped to present to you today. It still needs work. It needs a lot of work. So I would like to move this bill in its current form to the Senate so that I have the chance to work on amendments to address the issues raised by the previous committee and bring you back a bill that does what was intended. If I can't work that out in the Senate, I won't bring it back. So I thank you and appreciate your aye vote.
Mr. Allen, you are recognized.
Thank you very much, Mr. Speaker. While I do agree with the author that that was his original intent, the bill before us is an absolute failure and would move the pro-Israel movement backwards, not only in California, but around the country and around the globe. As you all know, the journey to this particular version of the bill started out late last year when I introduced AB 1552. The fight against bigotry and hate speech is something that not only myself, but all Californians support, and it's not a fight that we should ever put off. This legislation is without a doubt one of the most important issues that I've ever had the honor of working on during my entire time in office. The original bill, AB 1552, had its contents show up in AB 2844, the bill today, with strong pro-Israel specific language. Unfortunately, the strong, legal, and direct language from the original bill is now entirely gone from AB 2844 due to amendments that came out of the Appropriations Committee last Friday. What started out as a clear and principled stance against discrimination and a stand with Israel has now been watered down to a bill that asks for the Attorney General to come up with a list and a constitutional opinion. Mr. Speaker, permission to read.
Without objection.
Thank you, Mr. Speaker. I read directly from the bill that is before you today. The bill in its current form is extremely simple, and it certainly is not a pro-Israel bill. It certainly doesn't even mention the state of Israel. Here is exactly what it says. And it's very short. The Attorney General shall develop, maintain, and post on the internet website of the Office of the Attorney General a list of companies that are engaged in discriminatory business practices in furtherance of a boycott of any sovereign nation or peoples recognized by the government of the United States. And it continues. On or before January 1st, 2018, the Attorney General shall provide an assessment to the legislature of the constitutionality of prohibiting a company on the list developed pursuant to Subdivision A from entering into a contract with a public entity. Members, this bill is revised, has absolutely nothing to do with efforts to support Israel. It is not in line with any federal policy, and it would apply to boycotts of communist state-owned enterprises in Cuba just as surely as it would to Israeli companies. It has vast and uncertain application. It refers to boycotts of federally recognized peoples, which is entirely incoherent as the federal government does not recognize peoples, only sovereign states and sovereign Indian tribes. The bill also creates a strange equivalence between federally recognized sovereign states and peoples, whatever they may happen to be. Boycotts are a tool. They are neither inherently bad nor good. Much depends on how they are used. The boycotts of companies doing business with the South Africa apartheid government regime are one thing. Boycotts of Jewish businesses in 1930s Germany are something else altogether. By lumping all boycotts together, this current bill in front of us, in its current form, AB 2844, obscures this entirely and makes this legislation ridiculous. Finally, the new amendments contain an odd provision for a constitutional opinion by the Attorney General, which I just read, which says that the Attorney General will opine on the constitutionality of prohibiting a company on any list developed from entering into a contract with a public entity. This provision guarantees the bill will not be enforced for a year and a half, number one. And number two, puts its ultimate fate not in the hands of the legislature where it belongs, or even in a court, but with an elected official. And while the bill no longer has anything to do with Israel, the Attorney General's opinion could become a political tool to raise doubts about the nationwide wave of anti-boycott legislation. Think about this for a moment. If we vote to pass this bill today, we are not only endangering the pro-Israel movement in California, but we're endangering it around the country.
30 seconds, Mr. Allen.
For these reasons, I introduced amendments that would bring this bill back to its original form, which simply asserted California's right not to contract with any companies that boycott the state of Israel, recognizing that such prudence when spending taxpayer funds is an important part of upholding California's economic interests and the value of its citizens. Clearly, however, AB 2844 no longer has anything to do with stopping the boycott of Israel, and it's got nothing to do with ending discrimination, bigotry, and anti-Semitism. Members, AB 2844 is no longer a pro-Israel bill. I urge a no vote.
Mr. Wagner, you are recognized.
Thank you, Mr. Speaker. I am going to rise in support of this bill, as imperfect as it is, and as the author has recognized, as imperfect as it is. As originally drafted, the effort by my friend from Huntington Beach was a very, very worthy effort. As the bill finally moved forward with the current author, it was a very, very worthy effort. This House, on many occasions, has taken the opportunity to advance its views as to how we ought deal with unfortunate circumstances, illegal situations, unfair conduct around the world, where it has a nexus with the state of California, and where we have the opportunity to assert what the majority of us believe to be the morally superior view. That was the effort behind this bill originally. That was the effort that in the committees I sat on, we saw and supported. That's why I supported it. What we have here, unfortunately, coming out of appropriations is a hardly even shell of its former self. My colleague from Huntington Beach outlined its deficiencies. But to his credit, the author said those deficiencies are there, and if I can't fix them in the Senate, I'm not going to bring this back to you on concurrence. And I take him at his word, because it is the right thing, it is the moral thing for us to do, to assert the cause of freedom, as we're trying to do in this bill. And I think it's the least we can do to give the author the opportunity to continue this process in the other house. Put him to the test, and if he can bring back a better bill for us to vote on, we can vote for it. And if he can't, he has told us he'll put a stop to this effort, and you guys can all pick it up again next year. We need to give him that chance. It is the right thing to do to give him that opportunity. It isn't appropriate to say, well, the current bill is terrible and therefore do nothing. Because the current bill is today, given the procedural deadline we are facing, our only chance left this year to do the right thing. Hold your nose if you have to. Recognize this isn't perfect, but also recognize this is our chance to make the right statement. This is our chance to support an ally in democracy. This is our chance for us to do as we've done in so many other occasions around the globe. Assert our values, support the state of Israel, give this author an opportunity to work in the Senate to do the right thing and bring it back to us. I urge and I vote.
Mr. Levine, you are recognized.
Thank you, Mr. Speaker. I'm proud to stand here among friends who are supporters of the relationship between Israel and California. I'm proud to stand in support of the bill authored by our friend from Santa Monica. The relationship with Israel, between California, our state, and Israel is incredibly strong, and the work of this bill, like a lot of bills that we work on, sometimes doesn't always go in a straight line. But the relationship is strong nonetheless. And by passing this bill today, we get to continue working on it to get it to a place that fully recognizing the strength of that relationship. And like all relationships, it takes time to get it right. Just like this bill, it'll take some time to get it right. So thank you for giving us time in passing this bill today. We'll work through the Senate, and we'll work with leadership to get it to the place where we can bring it back to the Assembly and pass it again. Thank you.
Seeing and hearing no further debate, Mr. Bloom, would you like to close? Wait. I'm sorry. If everyone will sit down or move to the sides. Ms. Grove, you're recognized.
Thank you, Madam Speaker. I applaud the author of this bill, and I also applaud the author of the previous bill that was put in, I believe, Assembly Bill 001 from the author of my colleague from Huntington Beach. I appreciate the author's commitments to be able to move this bill to the Senate and get things straightened out. There is so much at stake here when I think about just not only the biblical, political, or selfish reasons on yourself that you would support a bill that stands against a boycott of, where the birthplace of Jesus is from a biblical standpoint. Where you would stand against a country that is our only political ally in the Middle East. And then I'd like to focus a little bit on the selfish reasons why we would support a bill that stops or does not support a boycott of Israel. Permission to read?
Without objection.
Thank you. So there's 8 brands, selfishly, that we would all have to give up if this boycott was to continue. So I guess if you put your money where your mouth is and you're really going to boycott Israel, you might think about giving up Pampers, because Pampers is a Procter & Gamble product which produces Pampers, and one of its largest clients is the Israeli company that supplies diaper products such as P&G, and it accounts for nearly half of the company's sales. And according to the pro-boycott research group who profits, these industries in the West Bank, the Israeli companies would not be allowed, we would not be allowed to purchase Pampers or participate in buying Pampers if the boycott of Israel went through. Ladies, this is a good one for you. Victoria's Secret. The popular lingerie company is one of the largest clients of a place in Israel which operates a textile factory in the West Bank. Volvo, Intel. Think about Intel. Chips that are manufactured in Israel, go in every single laptop that's been created in the last decade. So if you're not willing to give up your iPad, you're not willing to give up your computers, you're not willing to give up any of those things, then I suggest that you support not supporting a boycott of Israel. There are some Israeli students who introduced manufactured and patented the camera on a camera phone. So when you look at all these things that take place, and you look at even a Google search engine, don't use Google if you plan to boycott Israel. So when you think about this, I want you to think about the luxuries that you get at, but I also want you to think about it from a political perspective of them being our only ally in the Middle East, and from a biblical perspective, because it is something that's very sacred to the Christian and the Jewish belief system as well. So I urge the support of this bill to go forward. I don't know why it seems like to me hostile amendments were placed in this bill. My hope is that the author gets it off the floor, it goes to the Senate, he corrects it as he has given his word that he will do, and then he'll bring it back to this floor for a vote that will be beneficial so that we can all stand in alliance with Israel.
Seeing and hearing no further debate, Mr. Bloom, would you like to close?
Thank you, Madam Speaker. Thank you, members. Thank you to those who spoke for your very cogent remarks in support of the bill. I even want to thank, you might find this surprising, my colleague, our colleague from Huntington Beach, who spoke out in support of the substance of the bill that is in line with what I want to see the bill do, what I want to see the bill accomplish. We have a different means of getting there. I believe strongly, as those who have spoken in support of the bill, that this needs to happen in the Senate and then come back. As I said, if we can't get it done, you won't see it again. And you'll all be witness to that. So I thank you and ask you for your aye vote.
The clerk will open the roll. All those vote who desire to vote. All those vote who desire to vote. All those vote who desire to vote. The clerk will close the roll, and tally the votes. Ayes 54, noes 1. The measure passes. Passing temporarily on items 100 to 108, 109, AB 1696 Holden. The clerk will read.
Assembly Bill 1696 by Assemblymember Holden and others, enacted Lane to Medi-Cal.
Mr. Holden, you are recognized.
Thank you, Madam Speaker. AB 1696 will fight tobacco dependence and streamlines the services offered by Smokers Helpline, a useful resource in the fight against tobacco dependence. Smoking is the leading cause of preventable death in our state. Unfortunately, the Medi-Cal population faces higher risks of smoking and greater barriers to treatment, such as long wait times for appointments and fewer primary care doctors. AB 1696 enacts state and federal recommendations regarding tobacco cessation plan and codifies these recommendations and requirements by covering 4 quit attempts and 3 types of counseling for Medi-Cal beneficiaries. This will save lives and lower health care costs for Californians. For these reasons, I ask for your aye vote.
Seeing no discussion or debate on this item, the clerk will open the roll. All those vote who desire to vote. All those vote who desire to vote. All those vote who desire to vote. The clerk will close the roll and tally the votes. Ayes 49, noes 14. The measure passes. File item 110, AB 1721 Medina. The clerk will read.
Assembly Bill 1721 by Assemblymember Medina and others, enacted Lane to student financial aid.
Mr. Medina, you are recognized.
Thank you, Madam Speaker and members. AB 1721 expands access to college for students across the state. AB 1721 expands the number of Cal Grant awards with the intent to provide additional financial aid resources to California community college students. This bill increases the number of competitive Cal Grant awards from 25,750 to 34,000 and provides that 19,000 competitive Cal Grant awards shall be reserved for California community college students. It also authorizes community college students enrolled in occupational or career and technical training courses leading to industry-valued credentials of no less than 4 months in length at a California community college to be eligible for competitive Cal Grant B awards. AB 1721 also provides that the number of Cal Grant C awards shall be the same as the number that were paid in 2015-16 fiscal year. This bill will help increase college access, and I respectfully ask for your aye vote.
Seeing no discussion on this item, the clerk will open the roll. All those vote who desire to vote. All those vote who desire to vote. All those vote who desire to vote. The clerk will close the roll and tally the votes. Ayes 57, noes 3. The measure passes. Will budget conferees please report to budget conference at this time? File item 111, AB 1726, Bonta. The clerk will read.
Assembly Bill 1726 by Assemblymember Bonta and others, enacted Lane to data collection.
Mr. Bonta, you are recognized.
Thank you, Madam Speaker and colleagues. I'm pleased to present AB 1726, the AHEAD Act, which unveils health and education disparities of ethnic subgroups in the API community that will provide a deeper understanding of the challenges our communities face and better prepare us to address those challenges. Each of our diverse communities has unique social, economic, and educational needs that must be addressed differently. Instead of lumping many API communities together into a monolithic catch-all other Asian category, the AHEAD Act would identify API subgroups that are left behind. In doing so, it will reveal critical information that is currently being concealed, and it will make visible communities currently rendered invisible. The data unveiled by the AHEAD Act will allow policymakers, government agencies, and community groups to better and more effectively serve our diverse API community and lead with
Ms. Baker, you are recognized.
Thank you, Mr. Speaker and members. I rise in opposition to AB 1726. This is a bill that divides us. It divides Californians more, right at a time where really now more than ever we should be unifying. And it divides us on ethnic and racial lines. And it only does this with one particular group, Asian Americans. It's somewhat arbitrary that the bill, in its purposes that were just articulated by our good colleague, doesn't identify the fact that there are other subgroups within many other groups that are largely applying to universities, applying to CSU, which is coverage by this bill. For example, there are 50 minority ethnic groups inside China alone, and this bill does not identify why it's picked only certain parts of the Asian American community. It's arbitrary, and it is somewhat expedient. And it also doesn't try to unite people. Instead, it's trying to use just this one particular group. It doesn't identify, for example, that Hispanics are a broader group. It doesn't say maybe we should break that down into subcategories, or that Caucasian or white might need to be broken down into subcategories. It targets one specific group and breaks them down arbitrarily and expediently. And this is a bill that was identical to one that we voted on last year that the governor vetoed. And I take to heart and encourage members to take to heart his eloquent veto message, which was very persuasive for me. Permission to read?
Without objection.
I am wary of the ever-growing desire to stratify. Dividing people into ethnic or other subcategories may yield more information, but not necessarily greater wisdom about what actions should follow. To focus just on ethnic identity may not be enough. My colleagues, it isn't enough. I respectfully ask for your no vote.
Dr. Weber, you are recognized.
Yes, I rise in support of AB 1726 by my colleague from the Bay Area. And I do this because I'm not into the whole issue of dividing to conquer and all those kinds of things, but I do know that occasionally when there are issues being brought forward, the only way you can actually deal with it is to disaggregate the data and find out exactly who's in the groups. When I served on the school board, one of the challenges we faced was we had traditionally disaggregated the data like we do with different groups that are there, and they're very large groups. And the API group is a very large group. We did that, and we lost a lot of things. We missed a lot of things because we didn't adequately disaggregate the data. We had the API group with an achievement level that did not require us to give any attention to them at all as we were trying to figure out the achievement gap that existed in the district. Once we disaggregated the data, because we had a large influx of many of our Southeast Asian communities and others, we realized that we had some subgroups that were really suffering in our district that we were not responding to. And it was not an effort to pit one group against the other, but really to find out exactly what was going on with any particular group in terms of their achievement, what was happening to issues concerning the female who were Hmong students. We also found out health issues that were not identified because we had lumped these groups so large that we missed out on opportunities that we should have taken advantage of to help the individuals. I think my colleague from the Bay Area is building on that and the fact that there are a number of groups that we need to focus on, that the university needs to look at in terms of ways in which we can help them so that we don't end up with these huge categories and no ability to respond to those needs. We've started disaggregating data in this country because when you just simply look at the whole group of any group, just students in general, you find out that you miss serious populations. Even when we talk about schools and we don't disaggregate the data for schools, we find that there are schools that we think that are really high achieving schools, and then when we break out the data we discover that there are pockets of students that are failing in this school consistently because we have not addressed those issues. So I strongly suggest that we support AB 1726 as we're looking at the populations and making sure that we are doing whatever we can to make sure that every student in California succeeds and that we're responding to the cultural challenges that might exist.
Mr. Harper, you are recognized.
Thank you very much, Madam Chair. The reason why I rise to oppose this bill is because I see this as a backdoor way to start laying down the groundwork for racial preferences or racial quotas. Why else would you want to put together this data? Why else would you want to do this kind of disaggregation other than to be able to pick and choose within Asian subgroups which ones to give racial preferences to and which ones to give racial preferences against, whether it's admissions to college or whether it's others? It's absolutely the wrong thing and a backwards thing to be able to do when the voters were very clear when they passed Proposition 209.
Mr. Chu, you are recognized.
Thank you, Madam Speaker. I rise in support of this bill, and I want to respond to some of the contentions that have been raised that somehow we are dividing our community. In 2003, there was a statewide conversation about whether we should collect data with regards to race, Proposition 54, and that measure was soundly defeated by the voters because we know that African Americans suffer from much more significant high rates of sickle cell anemia, 10 times in fact. If you're a Latino kid, you have a 1 in 2 chance of getting diabetes. If you're API, from my community, you have a 10 times risk of getting hepatitis. This is only information we know because we collect data, and that is what this bill is about. Last year when this bill went through the process, it didn't have the controversy that it has today. Unfortunately, there has been some opposition that has been stirred up by some in the community to suggest this is divisive, but at the end of the day, this is data that actually saves lives. Now, to the suggestion around education, it's important that we know that there are some within our communities who suffer from poverty, who may not be graduating, who may not have the same kind of access as others. We need to know data because that allows us to make the right decisions about what we do. It allows us to figure out who within our community we need to lift up, and with that, I respectfully ask for your aye vote.
Mr. Allen, you are recognized.
Thank you very much, Madam Speaker. I rise in opposition to AB 1726, and I would like to quote our Governor Jerry Brown. May I have permission to read?
Without objection.
Thank you very much. An almost identical bill by the same author, AB 176, one number off, was actually vetoed last year by the governor. When he vetoed it, he wrote this, and I think this is very illustrative and educational because I think that we all probably agree with what the governor is saying. He says, to be sure, there is value in understanding data on race, ethnicity, gender, and other aspects of identity. However, despite this utility, I am wary of the ever-growing desire to stratify. Dividing people into ethnic or other subcategories may yield more information, but not necessarily greater wisdom about what actions should follow. And then to quote the San Diego Asian Americans for Equality, who say they are troubled by the hidden agenda of AB 1726 under the guise of addressing the diverse needs of Asian Americans, I'd simply like to say that this constant division based upon race sounds racist. After all, we already have enough categories. It's about time we stop trying to see the differences and focus on the similarities. I echo the governor's comments. I urge a no vote on 1726.
Seeing and hearing no further discussion or debate, Mr. Bonta, you may close.
Thank you, Madam Speaker and colleagues. Thank you for your debate and your input. I just want to address a number of the issues that were raised. One is, this is not new. We do this now. We do this in the state of California. We do this in the United States of America. Right now, the United States Census disaggregates our API data into numerous groups, including Chinese, Japanese, Filipino, Korean, Vietnamese, Asian, Indian. We also do that here in California. All this bill says, because quite to the contrary of the suggestion that this is a bill of division, this is a bill of inclusion. It doesn't leave out other groups that are currently not included, that are being rendered invisible. And it includes those groups such as Hmong and Indonesian and Thai and Fijian. So let's make no mistake about what we're already doing, what is already the law in this nation and in this state. The no less an authority than the California Commission on API Affairs approached me last year with this bill as their top priority. The API community wants this. So it makes me a little bit nervous when folks start telling me what they think the API community wants or needs. Our leaders on the Commission on API Affairs may have this as a very high priority. Another thing, this is data. There is nothing to fear from data. Disaggregated data is good data. And we can use that data to guide our policies. I've heard many of you stand up on this floor and say, I want data-driven policies. I want evidence-based policies. I want information and data to drive the policies that we make. This bill helps us get that data. Finally, I want to thank nearly all of you on this floor for supporting that earlier version of the bill that my colleague from Huntington Beach referenced, AB 176, last year. Nearly every one of you supported this bill and voted for it on this floor last year. Thank you, including a number of you who stood up just now and spoke against it. Nothing has changed in the last year. The bill is essentially the same except for one department that it doesn't cover, but the entire concept of the bill is exactly the same. And a couple of examples of how this bill can be helpful. We know that in the Korean American community, the rates of suicide are much higher than in other communities. We know that in the Chinese community, the rates of hepatitis B are much higher. We know that in certain communities, the rates of insurance coverage are much lower. When we know where those challenges exist, we can help address them as successfully as leaders. So with that, I want to thank you for your consideration and respectfully ask you for your aye vote.
The clerk will open the roll. All those vote who desire to vote. All those vote who desire to vote. All those vote who desire to vote. The clerk will close the roll and tally the votes. Ayes 44, noes 19. The measure passes.